once walking in New York City and I was just feeling kind of like down. I think I had like just done a kind of empty bar show somewhere. And this unhoused woman like looked me in the eyes and she goes, you know, you wouldn't be so creatively blocked if you were just true to yourself. And I was like, excuse me, what? And then I heard her yell, 3-headed Batman. And I was like, I don't know what's real anymore.
Right.
So
take what you know, take what you need.
Welcome to Cleopatra. I'm Christy Vana.
And I'm Lynn Molly, and we're two Middle Eastern comedy queens digging up the funny from the first generation experience.
Our guest today is a Los Angeles-based filmmaker. Please welcome Oscar Armando.
What?
Yay!
Armando.
Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
We're so happy to have you, and you are one of the few non-comedians we've had, which is exciting because I think we can ask about other creatives other than comedians on this podcast.
Ask me anything.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Do you feel that it was fated in the stars that you would be a filmmaker with a name like Oscar?
100%. Since I was born. No.
The pressure is high. Like, it's on.
You know, yeah, it is. It is a lot of pressure.
You can change your Instagram handle to Oscar with an Oscar at that point.
Oscar with no expectations.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Oscar nominated Armando.
Like, don't expect much from this Oscar. I don't know if that'll fit in the handle.
Yeah, I don't know where they cap you out.
Well, we're so excited to have you, and usually we start by asking the guests kind of how they came to be here. People go as far back as like great-grandparents.
Oh, yeah.
However far back you can recall, or you could start at your parents, but basically where are your parents from and how did they come here? And
For sure. So my parents are from El Salvador. They met over there, and then the funny story is that my mom came here. She immigrated from El Salvador during a civil war that they had going on. El Salvador is known for, well, in the past, it's been known for being like one of the most dangerous places to grow up in the world. I didn't know this. I luckily was born here and grew up here in California. But my mom dumped my dad in El Salvador, came here.
ooh.
Landed in Los Angeles. One day she's walking across the street, somewhere with her stepmom, and she looks across the street and my dad's there, her ex, but I had not been born yet. And so
She was pregnant though.
No, she wasn't pregnant.
Okay.
She dumped him, ran into him in another country.
In another country, and then so now he comes over and like starts talking to her, and she's just kind of like, what is happening in life right now? A couple months later, I'm conceived and I was born in California.
You're a backslide baby.
Yo, I never thought about that. Yeah, so like it was like, don't want you in my life. You come back in my life. Fine, let's do this. So I asked my mom about this recently, and she was telling me the story, and I was like, dang, that's crazy. I don't know how I feel right now about like my origin.
So what, did they stay together or what happened?
So they ended up having 2 more children. They have 4 boys together.
Wow. Where are you? Are you the first?
I'm the second.
The second, okay.
I'm the second. So they had, funnily enough, she had a son with him, and then he stayed in El Salvador while she came over here and tried to like build a, I guess you could like a whole system, like having a home and food and being able to support herself. And then she brought my older brother over.
How calculated do you think was your dad being in LA across the street? Like, was it a Saltburn situation? Like it had been devised
Oh my
over...
God, you go here?
Literally, it could have been that. Wow, same state.
Oh my God,
Funny.
I had no idea.
Same street.
Your bicycle's broken? I have a spare wheel.
Wow. It looks just like your old wheel.
That's so
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe my dad was a stalker. No. I don't know how calculated it was, but I think it's just funny that she broke up with him. They came over here and then ended up having 3 more kids.
Wow.
Like, that's just hilarious.
Classic madre.
Classic.
That's good drama. That's good gossip. Love
you
it.
know, and yeah.
And when you were asking your mom about this, what did she say? She said basically I needed to go to America and figure out like a different life.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, totally. So like I mentioned, there's a war. It's just like the government fighting the people fighting the government. This whole thing. This is like, I think she told me it was like in the early 80s. She wanted a better life. Like, she wanted a better life for her son, who she had. She did not intend to have 3 more with this man. And so she came over here. She started cleaning houses. She's actually still a house cleaner to this day. She's been a house cleaner like her whole life, housekeeper. She worked at hotels. Growing up, I didn't really get to see my mom as much as I would have liked to because she was working a lot. But I totally understand where that type of lifestyle comes from, because it's that what I think a lot of people refer to as like the immigrant mindset, the immigrant mentality, where it's like you have kids that you have to take care of, or you're supporting people, and you have to do whatever it takes to, earn a living and be in a position where you can actually help them and also keep yourself afloat. So I always tell my mom, I'm like, I have no idea how you did it, because you raised 4 boys by yourself, and it's crazy how that story just developed. There's so much more to it, but that's how I came to be in this.
I mean, you're welcome to share the more part of it.
The more,
yeah.
I think.
Let's go deep.
I think I admire my mom a lot. I tell her this all the time. I'm like, you literally could have just been like, nope, not doing it, like not taking care of this kid after I was born. And then she continuously like tried to work with our father through different stages of their relationship, and they had other children, and still like she did not give up. Like, she still kept going. Like, when I think of all the things that I've had to go through in my life, and just like, because everyone goes through adversity and struggles and challenges, and I'm like, my mom raised 4 boys by herself while trying to keep a relationship together with this person who, for some reason, it wasn't working, but she just would not give up. I don't know I don't know what drives a person to continue to do that, but she gave me a good example of like what to do when you want something, or when you believe in something or someone. Like, just don't give up, keep pursuing it, and give it everything that you've got. Because another thing that my mom tells me all the time is that like, we only get one life, so might as well give it everything you got.
And do you have you interviewed her kind of in depth?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I met this producer out here, and she was telling me that her parents were going through some health changes, and she mentioned that one of her parents, I believe both of her parents, were going through like Alzheimer's. And so they were forgetting things, and sometimes they wouldn't recognize people. And I started to like really think about myself, and she's like, you know what you should do, since you're a filmmaker, you should just like record sessions with your mom, telling stories about like when she was like a kid, and stories about like your upbringing and things that you don't remember, because then you can have those memories just in case. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. So I started doing that. I do it like during, holidays, or if there's like a birthday, I'll be sure. I used to not be that type of person, because I feel like because I love filmmaking so much, everyone's like, oh, there's Oscar with his camera, or like there's Oscar recording all the end or taking a photo. And I'm like, no, like it's more for the looking back of everything versus like, let me post on social and show everybody what I'm doing, or let me like, get some like, I don't know, something from this because I'm being a family person or whatever. No. Like, legit. I like we have a group chat. It's my uncle, one of my uncles, my aunts, my mom, my cousins. There's like I think 13 of us in that group chat. But it's all family, and I'll send them photos or videos and try to encourage them to like do and participate and take photos I know some people don't like to take photos, some people don't like videos. They're just like it's not their thing. So, and I totally get it, but for me, because that's a family group chat, I'm like, I want to have like this timeline.
Yeah, you're the documentarian of the
Right,
family.
right. I'm like, I want to have this timeline to like look back and reflect. And it's like, if I ever have kids, I don't have any kids right now, but if I have kids one day, I can go back and be like, look at your, I don't know, my mom's in there. So like, look at your grandma, like when she was this, you know, at this time in your life, or look at your, what would you call an aunt of mine?
Your great aunt.
There you go. Look at your great aunt, or look at your great uncle. And it's like, or your like my cousins, and then it's just it's so crazy how I'll look back at photos when I was a little kid. I don't know if you've ever done this, but you look back at the photos when you're a child, and you're like, I was this person.
Yeah, totally.
And you look in the mirror, and you're just like, what?
We have such a beautiful power now to preserve people, and so many of us are not taking advantage. I think about doing this with my parents every time I go home, and then I never do. And I feel like it's something we should all be doing, because you can really capture a person indefinitely.
What made you gravitate towards filmmaking and being Oscar with his camera, TM? Like,
trademark,
registered.
So I went to school. I went to Cal State Fullerton out here in California, and I studied business marketing. And my mom was like, whatever you do in life, if you get a degree from a university, I don't care what university, I'll be proud of you. And so
that's awesome.
I was like, I gotta finish college and at least give her that much of like something to be able to say like I did something right with my kid.
I'm assuming that wasn't financially easy.
No, it wasn't. That's funny you say that. No, it wasn't. I actually worked a couple of jobs while I was doing that, and then I did get some aid from the state and like financial aid and all that stuff, but you're also trying to like help your family and, you know, plan the next steps of like, and trying to live and all that stuff. But yeah, the financial aspect, it definitely, I think a lot of people have to figure out and then make sacrifices and things like that. But the filmmaking came after college. I was working for a PR marketing agency out here in Los Angeles, actually not too far from here. And I got into an accident one night and I ended up in the ER room. And so when I was in the ER, I remember having like the neck brace and like all these cables and all this stuff. And the doctor came in and he was like, "You're very lucky. Most people don't get second chances. So you might want to think about what you're doing with your life and actually do what you want to do." And
the doctor said this?
The ER doctor.
Wow, okay.
And so in my brain at the time, I was like, I'm in everything that's happening. To this day, I'm like, was that really what happened? Or was that like a dream that I had? Was that a dream that I had, like a vision or something?
Your subconscious telling
Right.
you.
But I remember, I was like, I remember what the doctor looks like. I remember like his voice. I remember everything. And then he came back later. And I think we talked about it a little bit more, like about just the accident, what had happened. And he was like, the EMT said that you were very lucky because your car was just totaled. And I'm processing all of this. A couple of weeks later, there was a film producer that was a client of that agency. And this film producer particularly was responsible for a filmmaker named Quentin Tarantino's films.
Heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, so he was Quentin's producer, and he was coming in to have a meeting with the owner of the agency that I was working at. And I was like the lowest tier at this agency. Like it was publicity and marketing.
So coffee and opening mail.
Hey, but someone's got to be great at it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've done it. I've definitely been the
too.
person
The assistant to the assistant. No,
getting the person's the main editor's car from the car wash. I've done that before.
I was an intern somewhere that later got slapped with a lawsuit for treating their interns poorly.
Wow. Let's talk about that. Let's not talk about me anymore.
No,
Let's talk about you.
Let's not throw that under the bus.
We'll sidebar.
Sidebar.
But keep. So you're at this agency, Quentin Tarantino.
So Quentin Tarantino's producer, and so my brain was like, I always wanted to know how to make movies. I just don't know. I don't get it. Like I don't know anything about it. I don't understand like cameras. This was 2016. I want to say 2016.
But did you love movies?
I love movies. I love movies. I didn't know how they made them though. And so I was like, when this guy comes in, my plan was like, I'm going to ask him. This was like after initial phases of like recovery after the accident. I was still in a neck brace. And I was like, I came back to work because I was like, I need to go. And I was getting paid at that time. I had interned for a while, but I was getting paid. And so I was like, I need to figure out how to pay for my expenses and everything that's going on, and also pay for like rent and all that stuff. So I felt like I was in a state where I could work, but I couldn't do like a whole lot until like my neck had healed and all that good stuff. And so the producer was going to come in that week. And the week that I get there, there's like a meeting, and I get sent into this room, and they go, please, like they slide over this manila folder, and it's just me and the new head of my department, because the old head of my department had left during my my MIA session when I was like recovering from the accident. And so the new head of the department was like, I need you to read this manila folder. And like, I like slowly like open it, kind of scared, because I'm like, what's happening here?
Right.
And they're like, those are your exit interview papers. Like, we need to let you go. And I was like, wait, I had just gotten an accident. I'd been out because of medical and, all this stuff like recovery. So like what's the reason? Like what?
Right.
And so they told me that I had missed too much time.
Were you actually an employee or were you still an intern?
Employee.
Okay. So you were like, okay, a touch of retaliation for my disability.
Right.
Lawyer Christie is growing stronger by the second.
Right. I'm like, can I just get
severance?
No.
No.
It's funny because
Sorry, my brain is like, oh, this sounds like disability or discrimination to me.
No, I tell this story to people, and I've told it to just random friends, and some of them have been in law, and they're like, dude, no, they can't do that. And I was like, I took it as a sign where I was like, I have to get out of here. Like, I have to move on.
I took it as a sign that you should sue them.
Yeah, I think that's what our listeners are feeling. I'm feeling.
Sorry.
Christy's like, I'm actually your attorney. I'm representing you now.
This is actually, we just forged an attorney-client relationship right here on camera.
On the pod. It's on the record. It's on the record. No.
Can I be the cheerleader in court? O-S-C. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I want this.
I'm like, no.
But okay.
Peace and love.
I'll put my lawyer brain aside. So you were like, okay, clearly I'm taking being fired as a sign that I should leave.
Yeah.
Which is way to pick up on the signs.
Right. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I was raised Catholic, then went Christian, and then went Catholic, and then kind of sprinkled back into Christianity. But it was because of like my mom believes some certain things. Her brother believed, my uncle, he believed certain things, and so like I was like kind of exposed to those two worlds. And as I got older, I was exposed to different practices and different spiritual beliefs, and more than just like the westernized, like,
right,
what we believe here and on this side of the planet. And so I was super in tune with signs, or like, this feels this way. I've always been that type of person where it's like, this my intuition is telling me something, I need to listen to it. And every time that I don't listen to it, something happens that just throws everything off. And then it puts me back on that path, because it's like a kid, like, and a parent being like, don't do that. And then they go and like run in the street or whatever and play. And the parent grabs the kid and is like, I told you not to do that. And then like sets them straight. And then they're like, okay, I'm not going to do that because that was scary. I almost died. So
I feel like the world gives you those signs.
I feel like life gives us a lot of signs in just our everyday.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we choose not to follow what we know we should be doing, or what we know is good for us.
Is that something your mom or your family raised you to do, to follow intuition, or did they implant that, or was that something you kind of cultivated on your own?
That's a good question. I never really thought of it if it was my mom or like family. I think my mom was always like, do the right thing, like be a good person, like be nice. That was like her biggest thing, like, be nice, Oscar, be nice. And I'm just like, okay, like, I'm sorry. A little ASMR for you guys. And yeah, listen to the sound of my voice. No. So she knew that, like, I was, like, growing up, I was a little, like, artistic, and, you know, like, I was a clown. I'm always the one who, like, when I walk into a room and my family's there, they're like, oh, it's Oscar. Like, what is he going to do today? Because I love being, like, energetic. Like, right now, I'm like, bring it down, Oscar.
No, you're great.
You're amongst
You're being so nice right now.
You're amongst civilized people. I know, right? My mom would be proud.
Be your weird, wild self. Your any version of yourself you're feeling today, we welcome.
Totally.
But, getting back to just the intuition part, do you feel like that was something?
I think I learned that after so many failed relationships. Shout out to, no, I'm just kidding.
Shout out to those red flags.
Shout out to
capital
all
R,
these.
capital
Susie,
F.
Jenny, Ashley, or I don't know.
Jessica.
Do you know them too? I'm like, did you date them too? No. Yeah, I think I learned that as I progressed, and also with what they call maturity.
I mean, that's beautiful, because there are a lot of people who still, despite the red flags, despite all the life lessons, you know, still don't know how to. I think this is something I'm only doing now, you know, at the ripe old age of 73. I am finally learning. I know, thank you so much. It looks so good.
She does look fantastic. Her skincare, like, you should.
I've been embalmed several times, actually.
Send me the recipe. What?
Kidding. But only now I'm starting to realize, like, hey, did you know that you actually have the ability to tap into something that is so much larger than yourself, and something that is not seen and can only be felt, and intuition is such a gift that I would pride myself on almost being able to overcome those feelings with logic and reason, because I was an attorney, and that was, you had to basically overcome your emotions and those feelings and let an objective form of reality prevail. And I think now I'm learning how to educate myself on, like, oh, wow, what if my mind and my body were connected? Let's tap back into that. Let's tap back into intuition. Like, I'm just now learning how to do these things.
That's so interesting to me, because my whole life I've been like, I'm an atheist. I don't have religion. And then recently my family went through like a little bit of a crisis. And I was talking to my dad, and I was just like, well, we just have to hope for the best. We just have to keep positive energy out there. We have to, you know, manifest a good ending. And then after I was like, oh, there it is. There is some religion in that. Like, I feel like it's like the same thing as my mom using prayer.
Right.
I'm just putting different words to it, and there isn't a higher being at the top except for my astrologer, Danny Santos.
You have an astrologer too? No, I'm just kidding.
We all do.
Can we like discuss our signs? No.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Wait, what are you?
So I dated this person who her mom was studying.
There's always a gateway woman.
Yeah.
It's like a bacon for
No,
vegans.
no.
That's
Yes.
what breaks them.
Wow. And I used to be vegan. No. Yeah. So I dated this person. Her mom was actually studying. Well, okay, dating's loose. Let's use that loosely.
So is she. Keep going.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Wow. Okay.
I'm totally kidding.
So I was talking to this person, and her mom was studying astrology, like to be like a career, and she told me the sign and what
All of
type of person I
signs.
was and what I needed to look out for, and just she told me this thing. I was just like, what? How dare you? But also like it kind of
What did she tell you?
It kind of made sense.
Are
I was
you
like,
okay
it
to share
kind of
with
made
us?
sense. So I'm a Capricorn, January 7th, and she told me that like I was the type of person who was like dead on, like if you have a goal, like you're gonna hit that goal. But like also she's like, my mom told me that like you're the type of person that like someone's gonna have to like take care of you, like your spouse is gonna like have to like care for you. And I was like, why would you say that? First of all,
And the implication being, and I don't want that to
right.
be me.
And then second of all, I was like, I've never asked anyone like that I can recall to be like, hey, like take care of me or whatever. And so like,
And then you were like, give me my bottle. Wah!
no, yeah. That's funny because like I'm not that type of person. Like I genuinely had to learn how to let people help me in my life with like, because of my mom. My mom literally she's evolved as a person, but like I see my mom now more open to like letting people into her life and also sharing things that are happening versus like when we were growing up. I don't remember one time seeing my mom cry. Like I don't remember her ever complaining. Like she just was like, all right, cool, let's move on. Like I'm sure she would do it like maybe in a car or like when we weren't there.
Right. She would always put on a strong face for you.
Yeah, but she put on a strong face, like as you said, for us. And so like I was never I don't think I've ever been the type of person to just be like, give me my bottle.
I would be so insulted too if somebody said that.
So when she said that to me, I literally, I'm the type of person who like takes things like literal sometimes. And I'm like, why would she say that? Did I ever ask her to do something for me? And like my brain just went into like this spider web of like events and things that have happened between us. And I'm like, where did she get this from? It's going to be from one of these. Right. And I was like, her mom doesn't even know me.
Yeah.
But that's where my astrological background or knowledge comes from.
Got it.
Do you know what your favorite birth chart quote was? I know my favorite. I don't know if I've said it on the pod, but my astrologer said, you were born for the spotlight, but you hate the spotlight. And that has been like my conflict through life because like, I know I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be spreading the word of like the Arab American experience, but it also gives me so much anxiety to put myself out there.
Well, Lynn, you're in luck because we're going to embrace your stardom today. Starting now. So this show is actually about Lynn. No.
This is my give me my bottle moment.
No, this is great. We're all like wrestling with our demons.
Yeah.
What's your big birth chart? Was there a thesis?
A thesis.
I don't think there was a big takeaway. She just said, you have a lot of I have a lot of earth in my chart and a lot of water. And she said, you just have a lot of skills that would lend themselves to being creative, because I was still like full-time lawyer at this time and was like, I don't know if I can do this, you know, and she was like, I think you could, you know, so that the thesis was, yes, we can. And then I joined the Obama campaign.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. I did not do that. But
That's where you met Lynn.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then I met Lynn.
We would have looked great on the Obama campaign, like right on the cover.
Absolutely.
I like that we all come from another career because I started in marketing as well. And every time I think about quitting all this, I remember driving to my office and like fantasizing, this is so terrible, about driving my car like into a building and just every day feeling this like dread and just like, this can't be what life is.
Literally.
And now sometimes I get real sad about my career, but it's never, I can't wake up tomorrow, you know? And so it's like anytime I just know I'm so much infinitely times more happy doing this.
What you just said something that was really interesting to me. Like before it was the dread of like, I can't go another day doing this. But now you're like, that feeling isn't there. The career might not be where it's never where, like newsflash, it's never going to be where
You'll
think.
be holding your Oscar with an Oscar. With an
Your
Oscar.
will have a little Oscar.
It'll never be enough,
like a
right?
Russian doll of Oscars.
Wow.
And you'll be like, it's not enough.
It's not.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys. Like anyone could do it. Like, right? But like, what do you think was that switch for you, where you started to enjoy? Because it sounds like you enjoy what you do now, previous to like the marketing career.
It was very much like I remember the first set I did. It just nothing felt better, and like we've talked about, I think some people do their first set and they're really bad, and some people do their first set. Like my first set was pretty good. I still have it on tape, and I've heard I've heard Natasha Leggero say that she was like, I was pretty good right away, and. Yeah, I think everything felt right, and it just has kept feeling right. And it just, if it ever feels wrong, I'll rethink it. But right now, I feel like the fact that I keep getting like a little breadcrumb, so there's always something to like keep afloat for, is enough.
My friend said that to me. He's a stand-up comic, and he said, this town gives you enough little wins to keep you going.
Maybe those breadcrumbs are quite loaded and devilish.
Maybe, yeah.
That's the gold, guys. and like interesting that you mentioned you had a law background before, and then now you're in tune with like other possibilities that are perhaps not as logical. Would you say law is a little bit more practical, procedural?
Yes.
And then now you're in a world of like,
Not logic.
Like it doesn't make
opposite,
sense.
yeah.
Why are we? You look at yourself in the mirror. You're like, why? No.
Right.
What that's like night and day for me.
It really is.
So
as for me as well.
so I'm wondering like what made you take that jump?
Oscar has turned the podcast on us.
Yeah. What do you? Well, I did talk about this on episode 2 but basically I always had a suspicion that I wanted to do something creative, and I've always loved comedy, and it's always just been a part of me and a part that I suppressed a lot. And I think there just came a time where I was like, I would like to see if I could do this and get away with it. And I'm still kind of in that phase where I'm like, am I getting away with it? Is it happening? What's going on? What am I doing? But it is that thing of I'm starting to realize that every day you're like, when is my life gonna start? And it's like, guess what? It already did. This is it. Like your one life that you're living has already started, and you're doing it right now.
Wow.
And that's kind of how it's been, you know? And now when I'm being in more of my creative head and not my logical brain, I do feel like I have to tap in more into that intuition that you were talking about. And that's a skill that I'm learning that have never used before.
Yeah. I think at the end of like, I have conversations with people who are in the third or fourth quarter of their lives, getting to like their 60s, 70s, 80s. I think they have a lot different. Of course, they have a different perspective on life, but they have a lot more to offer as far as how to what type of mindset to have like with your life as you're progressing in life. Like, for example, we're filming this episode now, right? And then it's like, what's going to happen next? I was having this conversation with someone who's older than me, and I was asking him like, what kind of advice would you give someone who's like in entertainment, and you know, you've had so much success, and this person, like, everybody knows them, and they've had a really like strong, they've been able to keep it going, because like one of the things that people talk about is that like once you get a certain level of like get the wheels rolling, what people call success, keeping it and keeping that momentum going, like you have to figure that out then. And then it's like you have to pivot and you have to transform and evolve and do new things and always be recreating yourself. So I asked him, I was like, what type of advice would you have? And he said, just keep doing what you love. Just keep doing that. He's like, if you follow that, don't worry about the money. Don't worry about like the relationships. Don't worry about the people that are in your life or not in your life, the people that you need. Keep following that feeling and keep fighting for it, and it'll keep giving you what you need. Like you'll be where you need to be at all times. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do that, because like I really want to be.
Looked him dead in the eye, and you're like, it's a no for me.
Like, I'm trying to be the great no, and he goes, no, like you'll figure it out. Like, you know, when you get older, you'll look back and you'll give people. I'm sure people will ask you for advice and stuff. And
how long ago was that conversation?
Maybe like last year.
Okay, and
It's recent.
Any developments on that, or do you feel like you're still in that space of?
So like I was telling you, I started tapping into like the whole intuition thing of like really following that gut feeling, or like I used to do this thing when I was a kid where I would be like, I need to talk to this person, but I don't know why. But now, because of that insight, I'm like, I need to say this. Maybe I need to pause and figure out how to say it, but I need to say something right now to this person. If I don't know them, or if I do know them, that's always like a battle, an inner battle for me. But I'm like, for some reason, I need to give this person a compliment, or I need to give this person, like, I need to tell them something, whatever it may be. It might be a friend. Like one of my closest friends, we have like these conversations all the time. And I'm like, I'm so happy that I'm able to say things to you and you won't judge me. So I'm taking that idea from it now. And because of the conversation that I had with that person about a year ago, I'm like mixing it all together. And I'm like, I'm just going to be that person that whatever's inside of me is telling me to be and to say and to do, and, you know, move this way, move that way. Like, I met some pretty interesting people in my life too who have influenced that. I met a couple wizards.
Multiple wizards.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, of course, in Los Angeles.
That's the new witch.
Yeah. So, and it's, the conversations are always really interesting, because it's like, you meet a warlock. These are little people telling me that this is what they are. And so Are
we talking like long beards?
No. They're not even like.
What do you mean little people?
They're not like Dumbledore, like, you know, like it's just people who genuinely believe that their life path or life paths have developed. I have this personality where like I talk to almost everyone or anyone.
Okay.
Not meaning like I'm gonna go up and like have a strike a conversation with whoever.
Yes to this podcast.
Right? Yeah. No.
Talk to any fucking asshole.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to vibe. No. I literally I don't know. I love people. Like, I love conversations. I love communicating and finding out new things about. I'll ask you stories. It's really hard not to ask you guys questions, because I know you're like, I already answered this question on episode 2, Oscar. Like, this is not what we're doing right now.
Well, you're the highlight. You're the main event. You're the main dish.
You're the cheese platter on the
We
table.
I was
Yeah.
saying before we started this, we should have had like all kinds of cheese on the table and then just
For
like
next time.
not ate it.
Okay. Couple of irons in the fire. I'm not letting go of warlock situation.
Wow.
But I also do want to circle back to the original notion that you had this sign of like, okay, I'm going to leave now. It's time for me to get out of this because I also have been asked to leave. But also that's a sign to keep going. Which one would you want to pursue? Which thread?
Which path is your intuition?
Yeah. Warlock or
Gravitating.
back to your leaving this.
I'm an explorer. I love adventure.
Okay.
So if someone tells me, "Hey, I'm a warlock
Okay.
and I have something to tell you,"
Brother,
we're-
you better believe
you
I'm going to
are
sit down and
talking
listen.
to the right person. Welcome to my show. There's the camera. No.
Okay, so I'm thinking warlock. Tell me about the warlock. What did the warlock tell you?
I gotta say, I identify with this energy so much. Whenever someone's like, I'm dropping the weirdest thing you've ever heard, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yes,
'Cause
Always.
you're going to get so much. I think you get so much more out of life letting things that are quote unquote weird or strange or out of the normal or like not, people don't like accept that, because what's this person going to tell you, right? They're going to tell you that the stars on Tuesday are going to be aligned and you're going to meet such and such or whatever.
They're going to tell you something that's going to be great on a podcast later.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So I was walking around Hollywood and
So I'm on in front of
Yeah.
Man's Chinese Theater, and I meet a real life witch. I'm like, I think that was an actor.
so
I think that was someone
I
dressed as
also met
Spider-Man.
Michael Jackson.
yeah, at the Wax Museum. No. So this person particularly, I met them while I was in a very challenging part of my life. So I think I was looking for anything from life to tell me to keep going. And I was like, literally, like, just a freaking billboard that says keep going would be great. And I was walking around with this person, and he had this energy that it just felt like the type of person that meant well, like meant good. Like there was no malintention. It wasn't. We were just having conversations about everything, and he started. That's actually, to be honest, that's actually when I started to pay attention to that feeling, gut feeling that I was telling you about. More like I started highlighting it a little bit more. This was like in 2017, 2018. And this person was like, you need to be in tune with what life is giving you. Like life is always going to give you everything you need. You're never going to have to worry about anything. And we all know that as humans. This is him telling me this. So he's like, we all know this is, but for some reason people just always find a way to like try to sabotage what's supposed to happen, or they freak out and they start having like panic attacks, and they think that like the mortgage is not going to get paid, or like their bills are like they're going to lose their job. All these things that just like cause friction in life and emotions of like chaos. And so he was telling me that if you listen to that feeling or that voice inside of you that's literally telling you, we're walking on the street and he's like, turn left. So we turn left in this street. And he's like, my body's telling me to go right. And so he's like, we're going to go right. And so we end up like just going. He took me through this exercise where he was like, do what your essence is telling you to do. If it's telling you to go talk to someone, again, we're on Hollywood Boulevard, so there's a lot of
My intuition usually says talk to no one on
Yeah.
Hollywood
Yeah,
Boulevard.
get back in your car, lock the door.
Yeah. So he's like, just kind of listen to that instead of suppressing it or pushing it down. Because sometimes we do this thing where like the voice, we turn it down all the way because we're like, no, that's dumb.
Right.
Or like, no, nobody will ever like want to do that? Or why would Oscar want to be on our podcast? Like you're saying, like, and then my brain.
And then we delete the message.
Right. Yeah. And then delete the message. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll be on your podcast. Yeah. Like literally that's what happened. That's how I got on this podcast, guys. And I thought to myself, like, okay, cool. Say what you want to say, but say it with like commitment. Commit. It's like acting, right? Or like anything in life. Anything. Literally anything you want to do. Commit. And stop like testing the waters or like, sugarcoating things. Like,
can I ask how he was dressed? I don't know why
Just
that's so
regularly.
important to me.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking
Just
blue
regular.
robes.
Me
Shiny
too.
blue robes.
He was tall, but he was dressed regularly. And he was very insightful in the way that he carried his way. It reminded me of someone who has like that, here in Los Angeles, a lot of people say the word woo-woo, like, ooh, that's very woo-woo, like, ooh, that's very like, I don't know, spiritual and stuff like that. And people use that as an excuse now to like hit on people, which is kind of weird. But I'm like, okay, guys, like.
Wait, excuse me, what?
So I've seen like different versions of what we call spirituality. And I'm like, women tend to like astrological explanations.
Truly, if a man came up to me and was like, "Hey, girl, you look like a Leo," I'd be like, "I love you."
Really? So I'm saying, like, they like talking about it more than like.
So you're saying that people like use as an excuse to connect and be like, I just feel like I'm like really drawn to you.
I'm vibing with like your
general
energy. Like, what's your rising?
Energy.
Yeah,
like,
that would work on me fully.
Like, what's like? Yeah, totally.
Wasn't that in the 60s and 70s? People also used "What's your sign" as a pickup line.
Is that true?
Yeah. It's coming back around, baby.
It's like wide leg pants.
Recycling. If you like it, use it. So I've seen it. That's what I meant about like using it in like dating. It's really interesting because I'm like, I wonder if we did a study on like how people really like develop their relationships in life. It's like, was that Libra and that Taurus like were they like spot on? Are they still together? Like,
Well,
was Taurus one of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
I was like, that sounds right.
I appreciate still a balance of like the intuition and the vibe and the woo, but also like some fucking common sense that like you cannot just be like,
right,
this because of this sign and this astrology, it is gonna turn out this way or it is that way. The over determinism about it is, I think, there needs to be a balance.
Yeah.
I was once walking in New York City and I was just feeling kind of like down. I think I had like just done a kind of empty bar show somewhere. And this unhoused woman like looked me in the eyes and she goes, you wouldn't be so creatively blocked if you were just true to yourself. And I was like, excuse me, what? And then I heard her yell, "Three-headed Batman." And I was like, I don't know what's real anymore.
Right.
So
take what you take what you need.
That's your billboard that says keep
Literally.
going.
What does the three-headed Batman mean?
I don't know. Write about it.
Maybe we're all three heads of the Batman.
That's our podcast name, Three-Headed Batman.
I filmed a scene for someone today where they were portraying Batman.
Wow, look at that.
Full circle.
It's all
guys.
connected.
Full circle.
So you like have now been slowly cultivating this relationship with your own intuition, with your own artistic drive.
Mm-hmm.
When you left that internship, like what did you do after that?
I started asking people about how, like, to be on a film set. Like, can I intern? Is that the right term? People are like, you're going to be a PA.
Yeah.
I'm like, PA, great, sounds good. Let's do
papa,
it. They're like, you're now my No. No, they're like, you're going to clean. You're going to make sure everybody has water. I started working for free, like, on any set that would have me, literally. Friends, they were like, I started Googling like how to be a filmmaker, all these things, because I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do it, I'm literally gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna legit go in all in. And that's when my therapist tells me this about me, like, you have an on-off personality. There's no in between with you.
All or nothing.
You're either in or you're out.
Mm.
And you need to find balance, Oscar. And I'm like, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Karen, I'm working on it. That's her name. I
Is
love
it
her.
really Karen?
Yeah.
That is.
Is she a white woman?
No, she's Latina lady, but she's awesome. She's awesome. I
Love
love
to
her.
hear it.
To hear it.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna go all in. And so I started working as a PA, and then one day my buddy's like, hey, do you want to be my first? And I was like, what's a first? It was on an independent first AD.
Yeah.
And so it was on an independent project. And I'm like, okay, dope, I'm a first. Like, I don't do it. And so like there was an actual first on set, and I ended up becoming like the third or second. In the credits, I think it says second AD. But I started like really seeing that there's different components to this world. And so I was like, okay, cool. What can I do to become better at telling stories? And so I was like, I need to be around writers. And so then I started like talking to writers. Anybody who was a writer, quote unquote, I would talk to, and just like I said,
which is why you talk to everyone in Los Angeles,
right? And this is
because
why
everyone is a writer, quote unquote.
right, everybody in LA, no, including myself, no. So then I started talking to different people doing different, focusing on different crafts, cinematographers, directors, actors, and somehow I landed on being in front of the camera. Because people were like, hey, you have a distinct look. Like, you should try acting.
They're
Be
just
on our
like,
podcast.
they're just like, you're diverse. Get on the camera.
Yeah, they're like, you look multi, like, ethnicity. Like, where are you from? And I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, you should do commercials. You should do this stuff. And so, like, I started just, like, venturing into the world of filmmaking overall, generally. And then I would sometimes work for free. Sometimes I would work for like low pay. Sometimes I'd work for Little Caesars. Shout out Little Caesars. And it just depended. Like, I just wanted to be in the world really badly. My mom thought I was crazy. She was like, you went to college, like you did this whole like 180 on me. Like, I was so proud of you and all these things. And she just, the creative industry or like anything creative in our family doesn't exist. Everybody's like either in the service industry, or they are something that is like more acceptable in the culture.
So she wanted like regular stability.
She wanted me to be a banker, because I worked for a bank while I was in college. I was a teller, and she was like, that's a great career. Like, you're going to kill it, and people love you and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do this.
And you're still a teller of stories. Oh.
Look in the camera, look in camera. And we're just going to like pull, we're just going to go really close on each one of us and like 3-shot. No.
I want to be a banker.
A banker?
I just want to be a computer programmer. I want to be something
are you
lucrative.
doing anything to pursue that?
No, absolutely not, because that's never what's going to be in my heart. What's
Oh.
always going to be in my heart is the creative arts. But I think having that artistic passion is a disease in many ways, and I wish I didn't have this disease.
No, but that's the thing, is that like I feel because we choose creative paths, I think as artists, anybody who's in entertainment, for some reason we have this thing. I think I've heard it so many times from so many different people, different walks of entertainment. They feel like they're doing something wrong, or like they should be doing something else, or like it might be like a family influence thing, or like a cultural influence thing, or society influence thing. I don't know what that is, but that's what I love, figuring out why things happen. And so I'm like, what's the derivative of this? Like, back in the day when cinema first started and when there were no Latinos on set, if there were, they were cleaning. No. What was that life like? And those early artists, the pioneers that were like filmmakers or comics, like comedy, when was the first person that was of a different gender or a different ethnicity or a different, like when these people started to mix with what was already happening? Why does that idea of like art not being enough or not being it where did it come from?
I think for me, it's just the financial constraint. Like, I know I've put saving money aside, and I've put financial stability aside for a very long time to pursue this. And I think that's just scary. I'm just so worried I'll get to the end of my life and not know how to support myself. And it's all because I gave it up. I gave everything up for this dream that didn't pan out, but we'll just hope it pans out, right?
Yeah, I think the answer is capitalism.
It is scary. It is scary to think about. Yeah.
I'm curious, sort of getting back around a little bit. We were talking about this a little bit before the cameras were rolling. Your mom was, of course, a huge influence. Like, her resilience, her ability to persevere has been clearly such an influence. What else from your culture do you feel like is something that resonates with you still, like customs or superstitions or things that live on in your daily life?
I recently went to visit. So I went to El Salvador when I was like 4, and then I recently went this year, and I haven't been there since I was 4, like around that time. But I had the privilege of, or the blessing of being able to meet my grandfather before he passed. But this is my mom's father.
Okay.
And they tell me stories about him. They say that I literally look just like him.
Wow.
And my personality is literally just like his. And I just think to myself, I just have to keep doing me, like being me. And the more genuine and truthful and honest that I am to myself, I swear, like, the right stuff happens. The right people come into my life. It's never what I want. It's always literally how that one song says, like, you don't always get what you want, you get what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Every time, literally every time. So, like, I think my family and, like, I don't know if it's a cultural thing to answer the question, but, like, my family has been a big influence on just following that your truth, like who you really are. Because literally every one of my family members, like, if I put them out and put their professions and what they do and all that stuff, they end up figuring it out, that they're like, this is not what I want to do, or like, this is not who I am, or this is not the relationship for me. And then that's like, it's huge when you're my therapist says I'm very insightful. Shout out to Karen again.
My mom also says I'm very talented, so.
There you go. My mom tells me the same thing, so I'm just going to believe it. No.
Yeah, my mom also charges by the hour.
Wow. So let's wrap it up.
I only speak to my mom in 50-minute sessions.
Oh, you get 50, I get 45.
So that kind of brings us around to, we have this segment called Dig Deep, where we ask the deep question of, the first thing that we like to ask is, you as a filmmaker might have thought about this in the movie of your life. What is sort of the story? We like to ask, basically, if your life were like a crossover of 2 films or 2 TV shows, what would that be and who would play you?
Movies or TV shows and the crossover. I want to say Rudy, but I don't play football, and I never wanted to play football. You know what I'm saying?
Just the story of, like,
I think
perseverance,
perseverance, resiliency. Like, he just wanted to do it, and he kept going. Like, also, we watched this movie every time it rained in woodshop during high school.
I watched that every single year in high school in a different class.
That's
like
so fun.
So pivotal.
Everyone loved Rudy.
I feel like they were trying to program us, like, don't give up on life. It's going to get hard. Get ready. But
before there was It Gets Better, there was Rudy.
Yeah. Can we put that on the tagline? Before. I think it'd be that, and then a show that I recently watched that's called This Fool.
Yes,
We love this fool.
Yeah,
Chris Estrada is
I
our peer.
I love Chris. I met him.
I would say our colleague, not our peer.
colleague,
Peer,
yes.
I think he's a little
Peer,
more
I feel
accomplished.
like, of course. But when we started, Chris was around doing 3 mics a night, working harder than he was a real Rudy of the stand-up comedy scene. And he's the person that when he got everything he deserved, everyone was rooting for it. He's the best. I love Chris Estrada so much.
So it's called rooting.
Rooting.
Yeah.
But I love this fool as a...
I think that because like culturally you're expected to do specific things, and that show really highlights a lot of things that it's comedic. It's very funny, very funny if you haven't watched it. This show is great. I met both lead actors at comedy shows when I was filming comics, and they are like them as people. When I met them, I was like, they're very kind,
Really
very
kind, yeah.
open, very very welcoming. It's just like to see that, because for me, people ask me like, where are you from? And I'm like, my family's from El Salvador. And they're like, oh, do you know any Salvadorians that are like in filmmaking? I'm like, no, I don't know one, like at all. The more that I get exposed to people who are doing things that they're passionate about, and they're in entertainment, and then I meet people who have the background of like the cultural to back it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you grew up like that too? Me too. It's funny because Chris and we were in the back, and I don't know if he's gonna want me to say this, but like it was a joke. He's like, so where'd you grow up? And I'm like, oh, I grew up in Orange County. He's like, oh, an OC, okay, cool. I'm like, yeah. He's like, both your mom and your dad? And I was like, nah, just my mom. He's like, hey, fatherless crew. And I just remember Chris saying this to me, and I was like, wow, dude, like there's other people who grew up the way I grew up, you know, and
That's
it's
adorable.
I love
and
that.
it's okay that like, you know, all these things happen, and you could still live a very fulfilled life.
Yeah. So Chris Estrada's playing you. What actor do you think captures your energy?
I think Chris would probably be
Yay.
definitely a good role.
All right, fatherless crew.
Yeah,
representing.
him or Tom Holland. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean that would.
Sure.
just
Put
kidding.
a luscious
Mark it.
curly-haired wig on him.
I think it would be
Some
him.
bronzer.
I was gonna say get that bronze face.
Right. No, it'd be
Jake.
it'd be him, or like maybe if like it was the later years, or like a different generation story, George Lopez, because he was a huge him, and Pablo Francisco, and I don't know how or why, but I've been watching stand-up since I was a little kid. Like I loved it. I never wanted to be a stand-up comic, but I just loved it.
And it brought you right here to this moment.
Full circle to this moment with
circle
two stand-up
in the presence of
comics and writers. And
one of whom is constantly being asked if she's Latina.
are you? No, I'm just kidding.
Our full hour conversation before this, where I'm like, yes, I've been to Egypt, and I went.
I know, right? And I'm like, are you?
Oh my gosh. So we have a second
of
question, and
course.
this is an even deeper question, if you can believe it.
Okay, so Cleopatra had a storied legacy as a leader, a scholar, a scientist, historian. What would you like your legacy to be, and what would you like your epitaph to read?
I love. It's gonna sound really corny. When I was in college, one of my counselors was like, Oscar, you can't be everybody's friend. Like, not everybody's gonna want to be your friend. Because I really was trying to like connect with everyone. I'm like, hey, how's your day going? Like, hey, people pleasing background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
That's a real first gen move.
Yeah.
For real,
Yeah.
first gens. And so I don't know. I love helping people. So if I can be remembered, personally, I don't care if it's in the limelight, like if it's like plaques and like, you know, statues and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that like if people on this planet, when I leave, are like, they benefited from either something I did for them or something I may have like helped them with. And I was able to put them in a better situation or help them through some tough times. Or, you know, sometimes people just want someone to talk to. And if I can get to that level of like helping multiple people, not just like a few people, I think that'd be dope.
You mean like helping us by hopping on this podcast at last minute and talking to us?
Honestly, I think that this conversation is probably one of my favorites, just because like it was so open and very welcoming, and like I never felt like, you know, like what's the next question? Oh my God, I can't like.
No, we adore you, and also we like really picked up on your vibe.
Dude, I'm telling you, that wizard was right.
Vibe of like, I need this man on my podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
We're gonna end this episode with just a meditation and a chant.
Yeah, we're just gonna do a quick om. We're gonna do 3 ohms. I love a good om, but I also
I'm sorry. She said, "I love a good."
I love a good om, but it does annoy me when like there's always that one person in class that's like,
oh, I love it.
I'm like, this is not vocal lessons, sweetie. This is not about you.
I live for it. I
LA.
want to meet this person. Let's get them on the pod.
Everywhere is an audition. You never know who you're sitting next to.
Yeah, it's Christina Aguilera. She's like, oh. Yeah, she's out of her mind. Okay, Oscar, you're such a delight. This is the end of the podcast.
That felt like an attack.
It was such a sorry, that was abrupt.
Oscar, we're out of time.
Guess what?
It's like a sharp turn, like sharp
I
transition.
literally was okay. Can I do that over? So
No,
it's less
No, we're
perfect.
gonna keep it. Keep the roll.
Oscar, this was the end of the podcast. Was that gentle enough?
That was so low key.
We did not do this twice, guys.
We can't thank you enough for being open, honest, taking us on weird, wild warlock rides.
That's what people are gonna take from this.
Weird, wild warlock ride.
I'm open to just everything. Life is life. Let's live it. Let's do what we can while we're here.
That's the epitaph. Boom.
Life is life.
Bam! I answered the question.
You did. Thank you so much. What would you like to promote, and where can people find you?
You can find me on social media at I am Oscar Armando.
And we will plug that in the show notes as well so people can find you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. I've been Christy Bana.
I'm Lynn Molly.
And I'm Oscar Armando. Be sure to like this. Okay.
He's hypnotizing us all. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.